Have a watch of Bill Maher on The View, where he's talking about how the left have become even more radicalized to be justifying the most obscene anti-Semitic movements, regimes around the world. And he talks about, of course, the recent ICC decision to seek arrest warrants for Netanyahu and how absurd that is and how wrong it is. And he addresses the critiques made about Israel during the Israel-Hamas War and addresses all those points, making some really important statements. Have a watch of this discussion.
You know, if I had any doubt that I was right about the change that's happened in the left, watching people protest for a terrorist organization like Hamas, that straightened me up pretty quick.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about that because I think you're almost a free speech absolutist. You believe totally in the right to say what you believe, but I think a lot of us were disturbed to see terrorist flags being waved on American college campuses and seeing this a generation that some I think genuinely care about the plight of the Palestinians. I think most Americans do, but some who seem to be embracing a terrorist organization over the nation of Israel. What do you make of this moment? What do you think it's a result of? How do we fix it?
Well, I mean, it's just astounding to me that they can't tell the good guys from the bad guys. I mean, just morally. I mean, let me tell you, if you're for Hamas, just live in Gaza for a day. And I'm not talking about while the war is on. I mean, before the war. Trust me, you would go running and screaming and begging to live in Tel Aviv, a place that has your values. I mean, women have no, I mean, this is a show watched by a lot of women. Women have no rights in this place and a lot of majority Muslim countries around the world. I mean, there is no equal rights as far as speech, dress, opportunities for education, reproductive rights, freedom from sexual violence, freedom from sexual harassment.
The LGBTQ community as well.
Yes.
You that too. But you throw around the term apartheid. There is a gender apartheid in a lot of the world where women are second-class citizens at best.
Are you at all concerned about the innocent civilians that have been collectively punished and murdered, largely children and women? And are you at all concerned about the fact that the International Criminal Court just today issued a subpoena for Bibi Netanyahu?
Well, that's ridiculous, but it's a war.
Why?
It's a war. Because it's a war, and they were attacked, and they're defending themselves. Now, this is a war. Do you think Hamas needs to be destroyed? This is the question.
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
So how can we do that with a ceasefire?
All right. So Hamas needs to be destroyed because they are a terrorist organization who say openly that they want to commit genocide on the Jewish people, on the state of Israel. That's what from the river to the sea means. Okay? And they say it very openly. They said, we did this attack. They've attacked Israel 5 times. They've started 5 wars since they were given that land back. They could have chosen to turn that place into any place they wanted to, and they took a lot of money that they took from the international community, and they spent it on bombs and guns and building tunnels. So if they need to be destroyed, how do we do that? It's a war. I don't know how to do that, and you don't know how to do that. I assume the Israeli Of course, everybody is, but that's what happens in a war. Here's a way to stop that. Stop attacking Israel.
I think Bill is absolutely right there. And actually, he touched on something really that goes to the heart of the whole conflict. He said, look, Hamas, just stop attacking Israel, then this whole thing will stop. The war will come to an end, the suffering will come to an end. Well, I would take it even further. It's not just that this war would come to an end. There would be no conflict at all. There would be no bloodshed at all if the Arabs of the region didn't try to seek the annihilation of the Jewish state from the start. There'd be no great displacement, the Nakba that they talk about. There'd be no blockades, there'd be no checkpoints, there'd be no any of these things if they would simply accept to live side by side with the Jewish state. That's the historical truth. Just look up the facts, study the history, listen to the testimonies, the first-hand witnesses, the accounts. You will see very clearly that that's what it's always been about. If they simply said, we are prepared to accept a Jewish state, then there would be none of this. There'd be no suffering at all. And so the strategy they've adopted ever since the 60s is seeing that they haven't been able, the surrounding Arab countries and now also the Arabs living in the West Bank and Gaza, seeing as they've realized that they weren't able to destroy Israel in those early wars, those existential wars of 48 and 67 and 73. They've now adopted a new approach, which is to provoke Israel into a conflict. Then Israel gets stuck in this war where they have to fight, and there's going to be inevitable civilian casualties, and they have to do it to protect themselves, to survive and for their security. And they're hoping that then the world will get so just tired in seeing all the suffering, in seeing all the bloodshed, that they're going to say, Israel, you just need to stop. And therefore Israel will fall through another mean. But it's the exact same ploy. Whether it's the early strategy of go to war big time and try and annihilate Israel, or whether it's the more recent strategy of provoke Israel and lead them into a war that will turn the world against them, it's the same strategy. It's not about people that are oppressed. It's all self-inflicted. It's all there just to try and get rid of Israel. And so Bill says it. He says, look, just tell them to surrender. Tell them they don't want to fight anymore, and then problem solved. But they don't do that. Because for them, it is absolutely core to their being. People like Hamas and the leaders of the cause against Israel, the resistance to Israel. It is so core to their whole philosophy that Israel falls, because what does it mean that the Jewish people, the second-class citizens of the Islamic world, the dhimmis, are returned to their home? Weren't they meant to be wandering the earth, forsaken by God, condemned? And that the people of Islam are the new chosen people? What does it mean that they've returned to their homeland after they were displaced 2,000 years ago, re-established it, coming back there en masse? Maybe God's promises to the Jewish people were never broken. Maybe they always were his nation, chosen to be his voice to the world, to all the nations of the world. Well, that presents a massive, massive theological challenge and threat to the Islamists. So therefore Israel must be this evil that has to be annihilated. Well, we're not going anywhere. We've always been the eternal nation, even when we have our hands tied behind our backs and the world shutting its doors on us and saying you have nowhere to hide. The Jewish people are maintained through divine will. And what will need to happen is not that we go away, but that our friends in the Arab world have a theological paradigm shift. They're going to need to have a theological maturing. That's the way this is going to end in the end. Ultimately, it actually does come down to a religious theological disagreement, grievance. And that's going to be where we find this ultimate solution. So yes, of course, Israel needs to do what she needs to do militarily and from a security perspective. But part of why I do what I do and why I'm so passionate about my Judaism and teaching it is because that is where the ultimate solution is going to lie. That's where the Jewish people are going to find the ultimate kind of solution to this conflict, which is for us as Jews to tell the world what we were taught at Mount Sinai and to be completely uncompromising in it, to do our mission that we were charged with 3,300 years ago. And you know what? The world will actually listen this time. They try to shut us down, persecute us, annihilate us, try to get us convert for 2,000 years, but it didn't work. And now that we do have relative political freedom, the world is realizing that they're completely morally lost. There's a vacuum of moral leadership and clarity, and the world is so confused. So the Jewish people really are the last best hope for mankind. So we just need to step into our role and teach the amazing wisdom and heritage that we've been given. Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.